You may have watched my last video on the Game Boy camera, and if you haven't, you should. I'll put it around here somewhere. If you've watched it, then you may have been asking yourself, what's that hot, delicious Game Boy mod that old Robbo's slapping around like a fresh salami? If you're not thinking that, I don't think anyone would blame you. But if you were, then today your question will be answered because I recorded the whole mod. I bought this right here Game Boy for about £30 on eBay, and I've been planning to mod it for a while now. I'm not gonna lie to you, the yellow on this Game Boy is chef's kiss. It's pretty nice. But this clear case is also very, very nice, and with like a sprinkle of yellow in there, being able to see the internal components, I love that too. All the screen bits here, and if you saw one of our previous videos on the Game Boy Color wireless mod that I did, a lot of those other buttons were used there too. This case was so cool, like a little Game Boy game case. I'm going to use that for other things. They've included all the stickers that make it look just authentic, I guess. The back blackout screen and all the wires we need. Another touch sensor there, and the pièce de résistance, the display, which obviously I've smudged the shit out of the back. Gonna have to solder this thing, so let's open her up. Open it up. Let's open it up. Ooh, alright, not too shabby. It's not dirty inside really, there's not much to clean. We gotta disconnect those display connector pins there. Be a little bit careful. I've heard of people like pushing them, no, don't do that. Oh god, yeah, let's use a black stick. That's gonna be a lot safer. Let's not tear this little ribbon cable here. Anyway, be careful removing those. I've heard horror stories of people literally just pushing it all the way through and like ripping those little tab holders off. Next, we're just going to unscrew the motherboard from the enclosure because we do not need that enclosure anymore. Yuck, get it out of here. I regret saying that. I like that yellow color. Checking out the speaker here because that is going. We're getting a brand new yellow one in there to match the theme, obviously. This beauty right here. I've read it doesn't matter what points on the board you solder the black and red cable to. If I'm wrong, let me know, but that's what I did. It seemed to work. Terrible way to check if the iron's hot, but you know, it wasn't even on. I've stripped cables before. I mean, on purpose, obviously. I was wondering if this was going to be hard, and I'm delighted to say that I picked it up again quite quickly, because it's been a while since I'd actually done it. Doing a little practice here, because I was nervous to try this. Make sure the tip of the soldering iron is clean. I very much realize that I didn't put any flux on here, and this is a big mistake in this whole entire build or mod. I'm gonna do that next time, I promise. Please don't berate me for my sins. Yeah, okay, look, don't look at the black one, it's a bit munged up, but the red one, it's pretty pristine. I'm gonna use this copper tape stuff to get rid of the old solder on the board there. Solder, let me know, what is it? I think the Brits say solder. And I think the Australians they also say solder. I think the Americans, they say solder. Solder. Hey, I'm soldering here. I'm soldering. I'm getting rid of the solder on the board here. Bronze tape worked really well. Worked like a charm. Got the speaker out nice and easy. Got the last little bit out with the soldering iron itself. Then just clean the rest of it up a little bit. If you've done this before, do you clean the board? Because it looked clean to me, so I didn't see the need to actually clean the board itself, but let us know in the comments. I was going to chuck some solder on the board and then try to slip the speaker through, but the board has these two little holes which each cable kind of goes through. So I just popped them in and then soldered them into the board directly. Does that make any sense? I feel like that doesn't make any sense. There were two holes in the board and I stuck the cables into those holes and I soldered the ends of those cables and it worked fine. It worked fine until I did that and absolutely destroyed the mat. But we live and we learn, you know? This is kind of the best that it gets for the soldering. This is the highest standard that, good old Rob set on this mod. I mean, you're about to see, it gets a little bit dodgy. I tried to get this thing off, but it was, oh god, it was so stuck. When I bought it, it said it was a self-healing mat, so hopefully it just kind of deals with itself. Alright, time to get this display all sorted and soldered. I had an idea for this. I kind of wanted to use just normal white plumbing tape to section off that bottom part of the display. I think it's fine. I just then kind of started thinking, if I've got the transparent shell, then I should just show off that bottom bit of the display anyway. Why is it always so hard? There's always one of them that's really hard to do. It's a good idea just to tape this thing down so it doesn't move about while you're trying to solder. This went very smoothly. I probably should have heated up the tabs a little bit. And again, yes, I should have used flux 100%. I will do that next time. For those who don't know, because I found out after I did this, putting flux on any area that you're going to solder helps kind of prepare the area and make that solder stick better and adhere better. I'm just trying here to heat up the cable, like that end bit of the cable, so it sticks to the solder a whole bunch better. I probably should have mentioned those two cables that I just soldered there, we're going to then connect them to the start and select pads on the logic board. This is so we can control different options on the display without using the touch sensor that comes with it. The cable that I'm soldering now is to connect to the power on the motherboard as well. So we easily could just do all these display changing features without doing this soldering, but I really wanted to try to do this properly and get it all soldered and sorted myself. That thing right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the touch sensor that I was talking about. You got to stick it, there's a little sticky tab there. You push it up against the shell of the enclosure so that you can touch it with your finger. Make sure it's stuck there. You don't want it to be loose, otherwise you won't be able to use the controls if you haven't soldered the board. Okay, don't ask me why I did this, but I decided to put all the buttons in before I started soldering the rest of the board. And then when I was fiddling around trying to get the little RF sensor in at the top, I accidentally knocked one of the cables and I guess we had to resolder that. And there she goes. I didn't even notice until the RF sensor fell next to it. But we resoldered it on and it was all fine. Now listen up here, because this is very important. There's multiple places you can solder the start and select. Only one place you can do the power, but there's multiple places you can do the start and select. So, of course, I decided to do it in the hardest spot imaginable, at the very top. The reason I did this is because it's a clear shell, and all the other cable solder spots, you would be able to see them under the shell, basically. And I thought that would look a bit yucky, so I wanted to solder them at the top. The reason it's so difficult to solder up there is because, well, first, I'm completely new to soldering, so I don't really know what I'm doing in the first place. But those little solder points are all so close together, so I was terrified that I would bridge one of those solder points. And I know if you do that, it can cause problems. Upon reflection now, there's, I think, a few crucial mistakes that I made and that I would definitely do different the next time I approach one of these mods, or I think any mod where I have to solder anything at all. The first is flux. We know this. I'm going to use flux on absolutely everything. Second is, I do not think that soldering iron was near hot enough. Everything I've researched post doing this mod says that your soldering iron should be, I think, a lot hotter than I had it set to. This soldering debacle got worse and worse until my head eventually just engulfed the whole screen and just ruined every shot. This went on for ages and ages. It just didn't stop. For whatever reason, I just couldn't get it. Probably a mix of the reasons that I said before. I even tried using this tape to get rid of the old solder as well, and then start again. But after many ruined shots with my head in the way, we finally got both cables soldered onto the board. Last thing left to do on this board is to solder that power cable, and I only ruined the shot one time. After doing the big screw, actually, I take that back. You know what I mean. After screwing everything in, out with the old and in with the new. The clear enclosure, being able to see everything underneath, and the yellow accents of the buttons, it just looks, so good. I'm curious to know what you think. Do you like it? Would you have gone with another color? Let me know in the comments. Moment of truth here. Does it turn on?
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
It looks so nice. I'm honestly so happy with this. I think the only thing is that button there is like a little bit too stiff. I've no idea how to fix that though. Do I just sand it down? Something like that? If you know, please comment below. Using Pokemon Red here to test if all the buttons and soldering work. I can't stop looking at this thing, and the screen as well is so clear. Okay, D-pad seems to work. A button's good. B button's good. Moment of truth here. Will the start and select soldering have worked? Okay, it's not looking good. You're meant to be able to press them at the same time and a menu comes up. Okay, the touch sensor at the top is working. This is, at least that's good. If you hold it down, it should bring up the menu. Yes, perfect. You're meant to be able to control this menu with the start and select as well. So it looks like that's working. Oh, so if that works, why can I not get the menu up with start and select? Okay, the select button is working intermittently, it looks like. So, I mean, clearly, we know I didn't do the best soldering job, so I think that's the problem here. And look, at least that touch sensor at the top works, so I can go in and try to resolder the board another time. But it's still a win for me, it's still a win. I am so happy with this mod. I love the clear shell, the yellow that's there is like not too much, especially that speaker behind the shell as well. And the funny playing IPS display is also just so crisp. If you have any tips on soldering, please comment them below, even if you're just gonna tell me to use flux. And since you're already here, you might as well watch another of our little videos. This one right here, very nice. Why not give it a watch? And we will see you next week.